Test, test. Test, test. Auto transcription. Hi guys, great to see you again.
Hello, Ashley. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. You're looking all bright and ready for the morning. It's not too early over there, is it?
Not too early. 10 o'clock now.
10 o'clock. Oh, that's a good time.
It's sunny but a bit chilly, so I'm going to throw on something. Yes.
Oh, have you been up to much this morning?
Well, practicing and
yes,
and reading over the familiarizing ourselves with the guidelines.
Mm,
Chat about that.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
yes,
Bit of breakfast and
yeah.
excellent. So you've been steeped in it all morning.
yeah.
Yeah, you're looking beautiful this morning, Ashling.
Sorry, Fionn, can you say that again?
Sure, I just said that you're looking very beautiful this
Oh,
morning.
thank you. That's so kind. I'm so glad I asked you to repeat that.
Sure.
Are you in a home office?
Yeah.
Or are you at an office? Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I have a home office, so I have all my books here and got a nice comfy setup. So
Nice. And is your double I work your main work?
it's one of my main works. So I have about three. So through my consulting business, I have about 3 clients, and double IDL is one of them.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, as I say, very lucky.
Mm.
Is the sound coming through okay? Am I loud enough?
Sounds fine. How about back to you from us?
It's a little quiet coming from you. I'm not sure if there's any way to change that. And it might just be me. It's just started raining here.
Well, we've been told that that's an issue. We have to get a new microphone to plug in, but we'll just try to speak up today.
Yeah.
Good morning. Oh.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Michael.
Hi, Michael. So we're just doing all the fun testing microphones and checking that everything works. So you're on mute, Michael.
Well, it's a little earlier for me.
What time is it
I'm
in, are you in Nova Scotia?
I'm in Nova Scotia and it's 10 to 6 in the morning.
Oof, good morning to you.
Yeah.
Sven, thank you so much. I know you've been traveling as well, so it's lovely to have you with us.
Yes. It's nice to be here.
Nice
Yes,
to
I
have
went from Bonaire to Denmark now, and I live in the Netherlands. So I was home for 10 hours, and then I had to go to Denmark. So it's, but it's nice to be here.
Is there anything audio-wise you'd like to test with us, because you're doing the opening, the musical opening for us?
Yeah, just see, because I have very loud. I'm at the conservatory. Just see if you can hear the piano, because it's a big piano.
Oh,
Is it good? Or is it
good.
too loud? Yeah. Okay. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. Is that okay?
The your singing is a little quiet.
Oh yeah, then I won't use this pedal. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. Whoa. Is that better balanced?
Better.
All right.
Jonathan,
The balance-
Fionn, what do you think? Better?
The balance is good, but the overall sound is quite low to
Yeah,
us.
Just, that's because of this big piano. If I move it too close, then you will only hear piano. But I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. Yeah. All right. Then we're doing it like that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Normally I'm at home with my lovely setup, but now I'm at the conservatory, so it's a bit different. But okay.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Fionn, I know you're a musician as well. What do you reckon?
Sounding good.
Okay,
Yeah, indeed.
excellent. Okay, we're getting a few participants coming into the waiting room, so I'll hold off on
Michael,
letting
it's
them in.
nice to see you again. It's been years since we've seen each other.
Well, you look the same, you know,
As do you.
maybe a little younger. I don't know. Yeah, we would have seen each other more often, but this pandemic interfered.
Indeed. Yeah, hopefully we can bring back some of the good things and leave aside some of the things that should have been left aside.
Mm.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
We'll just try to get Colin to speak strong. Right? Yeah.
What else?
Want one? Yeah, go ahead. If you're feeling a little chill.
Oh, so excited. This is the final one in the set of workshops, so it's kind of sad, but it's kind of exciting. So we'll move on to the next step. I know Eddie's going to join us any minute now as well. He's coming straight from a board meeting. And Sven, can I just check, how do I properly pronounce your names?
Sven Kate.
Kate? Sven Kate?
Kate. Yeah, it's like K-A-T-E.
Okay,
Yeah. People
perfect.
always call me Sven Keat, but it's Sven Kate.
Perfect, thank you. I always like to check. I have a name that trips people up as well, so.
Oh yeah.
Okay, anything else anyone would like to check or test before we start letting everyone in? Michael, I have thrown you in the deep end as a discussant at the end of the workshop again as well.
I saw that, yeah, on the agenda, so that's fine. It won't be the first time or the last.
Thank you, I appreciate you being there to do that role. Hi Eddie, how was your meeting? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Are you letting people into the waiting room? There's 3 waiting.
I will in probably another
Okay.
couple of minutes. I was just checking if there was anyone else. I was semi-waiting for Charlie, but I think he might
Okay.
be.
Cool.
I was saying before, I'm kind of excited and kind of sad that this is the last workshop. I've got to enjoy it.
How are you, Michael?
I'm good. I'm in Nova Scotia.
Very good. Jonathan and Sven, good to meet you both.
Well, so that's Fionn and his dad, Jonathan.
Excellent.
Are you in Australia, Eddie?
Yes, in Perth.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you both, Steve.
All right, team, I'm going to let everybody in. Hi, everyone. Hi, Charlie and Cameron. Sorry, I didn't realize you were together. Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you, Ashley. Hi there. Hi, folks.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I'm getting lots of people joining now, so we'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to get in and get connected. Feel free to say hi.
Hey, Renee.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Renee. How are you today?
Yeah, Renee is fine. Joined by his son, so I'm really happy.
Yes, ik spel ze even op internet.
Hi, Stacey, welcome.
Hello.
Got a very international group today. We're all around the world pretty much, across Europe. We've got Nova Scotia, we've got both sides of Australia. So very international, must be a good time zone for a few people. So we've got about half the people who've registered, so I'm just going to give it another couple of minutes. So if you'd like a cup of tea or coffee or a cold drink, it's a good time to grab one.
Loop we straks even samen naar GV Centrum. 5 voor 4.
Oh, moet je
Kom je weer langs mij voordat we... Gaat dat goed? Zo.
Hi, it's Unedited.
Sorry, Cameron.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Hi, Unedited.
Morning. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, Andy.
Okay. So we're 2 minutes past our starting time and getting there with our number of people joining. Just to note, this session is recorded, and if anyone is needing subtitles or captioning, sorry, I'll just let you know, unfortunately, we've had a hiccup with our live captioner, but we have got the automatic Zoom captions available for anyone who would prefer to have them. So they've been enabled, and you can enable those through choosing the caption, the closed caption section in the bottom of Zoom. My apologies, so automatic captioning is never quite as good, but okay. Let's get started, and if we have more people coming in, I'll keep admitting them as we go. So welcome. This is a bit of the kind of welcome and what to expect from our time together today. Thank you so much for making the time. Delighted to have so many wonderful people, as I said, all across the world. So we've got people all across Europe, and we have people from Nova Scotia and Australia all joining us today. So it's a really international workshop today. In acknowledgement of that, many of us around the world are living on land that has been colonised, and it's the custom here in Australia, where I was born and raised, to take a moment to remember this and to acknowledge that we're on the lands of First Nations people who lived in harmony and cared for the land, the sea, the skies for millions of years. And so I'd like to take that moment now and just extend respect to any First Nations people and people who've been displaced or dispossessed due to colonisation who are joining us today. So the other thing I want to note as we open is we're holding this workshop in English. And so that's an important note about language, that we'll just start with kindness and patience as we're all working through different languages a lot of the time. And also just a note around the language that we use to talk about mental health and disability. The language that's considered best practice across each of our countries and regions can be different. And whenever we do these events, we always start from an assumption of good intent and trust that people are using the language that's considered respectful in their areas. We do want to make this a good meeting for everybody. So just a note about accessibility. Try to speak at a slightly slower than regular pace, because that really helps with our captioning. It helps people who might be working in a second or third language, and it helps people who might need a little bit more time for processing what's going on. Also, from an accessibility point of view, you'll notice that we don't have a group chat available, and that just helps to make the meeting more accessible for a range of people. If you do need something, you can contact myself as the host or the co-host through the chat function, though, and we'll be happy to help you through the chat. And I mentioned before, but just for those who didn't quite hear it, unfortunately, we've had a hiccup with our live captioner, so we are relying on the automatic captions through Zoom. If you like to have captions on, you can select that through the closed caption button on the bottom tray of Zoom. So with that, all of the opening bits and pieces, don't need to tell you where the emergency exits and the bathrooms are. It's our custom in IIDL and IIMHL to open our meetings with cultural acknowledgement, including creative expression, as a really important way in which we share our lived experience and our journeys through life. And we're really very lucky today to be joined by Sven Kent, a qualified musician, teacher, composer, conductor, and singer. And we're delighted to have him here with us today to share his work with us. So take it away, Sven.
Hi, everybody. I will sing you a nice song to start this off. Homegrown alligator, see you later. Gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. Something changed in the atmosphere, architecture unfamiliar. I can get used to this. Time flies by in the yellow and green. Stick around and you see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the Hudson, feeling like someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the Hudson, feeling like someone. We're south of the equator, navigator, gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. Deep sea diving around the clock, bikini bottoms, lager tops, I can get used to this. Time flies by in the yellow and green, stick around and you'll see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you'll know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. We got two in the front, two in the back, sailing along, and we don't look back, back. Time flies by in the yellow and green. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. There's a mountain top that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. Yes. So the reason I sang this for you, I'm actually a conductor myself, living in the Netherlands, so I have several choirs. But I also used to work in, my dad is also here, René Kate, and he works in mental health. And actually, I also worked with some of the people that he works with and with music. So it's always very great for me to sing at events like this because I have seen how much music can do for mental health. So it's always great for me to do these kinds of things. And the song that I just sang for you, it's called Shotgun, and I sang it for you because I was reading some of the keywords about this day, and I read something about collective leadership and co-production. And actually, I do a lot with this myself in my field. I call it co-creative arranging. So when we were actually in the hard lockdown, I created an arrangement with my choir singers. And writing an arrangement is writing the sheet music. And a lot of amateur singers are not able to write sheet music. It's quite hard, but they do have a lot of creative ideas. So I decided to dive into those ideas and create an arrangement with them themselves. So the song I just sang for you, Shotgun, one of my choirs also turned it into a arrangement. I will send the YouTube link to you, Aylin, and then you can share it with everyone else. So this was the original. After the session, go and listen to the co-creative arrangement that I made with my singers. And I would also like to sing a second song for you. It's called High Hopes, and that's because I read that young people, young emerging leaders, SMI, and this is my empowering song. It's called High Hopes. Had to have high hopes for the living, shooting for the stars, but I couldn't make a killing. Didn't have the dime, but I always had a vision. Always had high. Had to have high hopes for the living. Didn't know how, but I always had a feeling I was gonna be the one in the middle. Always had high. Mama said, fulfill the prophecy, be something greater. We'll make a legacy, manifest destiny. Back in the days we wanted everything, Said, but your biographies rewrite your history. Light up your wildest dreams, museum victories. Every day we wanted everything, Mama said, don't give up. Sorry, I just got it in the wrong key. It's a little complicated, all tied up from more love, and I hate to see you wait. Had to have high hopes for the living, shooting for the stars when I couldn't make a killing. Didn't have a dime, but I always had a vision. Always had high hopes. Had to have high hopes for the living. Didn't know how, but I always had a feeling I was gonna be the one in a million. Always had high hopes. Mama said, so feel for Thank you. I saw the waving.
Well done. Thank you so much, Sven, for sharing your beautiful voice and playing with us. We really appreciate it. And what a beautiful set of songs to start us off with. So this is applause in sign language across most sign languages. So we send you our applause from everywhere that we are.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. And the next part of our opening is on behalf of IIDL and IIMHL. I'd like to acknowledge that we're joined today by people with lived and living experience of mental ill health and recovery, lived and living experience of disabilities, and people who have been carers, family members or supporters. To share from our personal experience is an act of courage, and it's done from a place of strength. To help develop our collective understanding of what makes a positive difference. So I want to acknowledge and extend respect to all of those working from their lived and living experience today. And thank you, Fionn, for my excellent wording. So let's move into our panel, because we have some really wonderful people joining us to reflect on their experience. The first person I'm going to introduce you to is Shauna McKernan. She is joining us via a pre-recorded video. She's the Executive Director of FRAME in Canada, and she's worked to enhance outcomes for children, youth and their families in the mental health and substance use system for over 15 years. Through her own journey with mental health challenges and supporting those she cares about, Shauna knows about the benefit of designing solutions for those who use services. FRAME leads a national network in Canada that connects mental health, health and social services, working with youth and young adults to accelerate integration and implementation of good quality youth care in Canada. So we'll start with a video of that, and please give me one moment to sort out my video sharing.
So I think for us, one of the things that we've really been trying to engage with, I think, over the last year is asking. So we ask a lot, right? It's sort of a simple concept, but sometimes our most simple concepts take us the furthest. And so we've really committed ourselves to this philosophy of asking and getting back and grounded in this concept of having an inquisitive mind, being curious, trying to understand, because I think one of the things that we've absolutely heard from emerging leaders, or over here and with FRAME, we call them folks with lived expertise that are trying to inform our systems and to help us design better systems, is that we're not talking about a homogenous group of people. We're talking about very diverse folks with very diverse experiences and sometimes contradictory experiences in the system, or in their work as advocates or in their work as leaders. And that's actually the most important point, where we have that intersectionality of disagreement or of oppositional experiences or different experiences. And the only way you can truly, I think we've learned, and we continue to try to learn, understand and appreciate that, is to lean into those points of intersectionality and experience, recognize the diversity of those experiences and make space for it. So I think for me, if I'm kind of thinking about the journey and how we've gone about it as an organization, and where I think we are going to continue to go because we've seen some success, is that concept of being inquisitive, asking, really learning with that sort of deep listening to those folks that are working in the system, advocating and trying to lead, to understand what's important to them, what's needed in the system, what hasn't worked, but also what are some of the visions and solutions that they think might work. And so one of the things in relation to kind of the policy and our practices and our strategic plan is that co-development aspect with emergent leaders or with folks with lived expertise is really critical. But I don't think you can I don't think you can develop those pieces and leave them if you want them to have impact and if you want them to mean something to the organization. So I think revisiting them is important. I think discussing them is important. I think basing them in some of your other kind of components of your house structure is important. How do they link to your organizational key performance indicators? How do they link to the way that you evaluate yourselves, the way that you ask for feedback, the way that you engage with youth leaders or family leaders or caregiver leaders, advocates from across the system in terms of understanding how you're doing. We need to tie these pieces together so that how to make these pieces live is something that we've really been learning. And in the absence of some of the things like key performance indicators right out of the gate, we didn't have that. At one point, we didn't have a strategic plan. And so over time, as we've built these things, we've built them with intention, especially in relation to youth. For us as a sector, I think when someone sort of first comes in to informing system work and they really want to share their lived expertise to inform system work, one of the things I think we say as organizations is, be loud, use your voice, share your story, without, any sort of with no inhibitions, kind of tell us what we need to do, how we need to do better, where we haven't delivered. And this is a really critical reflection for us as a system is a really important conversation. I don't know that we've done a great job of having the diversity of perspective that we need to then build a new system based on that. However, I also think that we sort of really promote advocacy with the concept of dismantling. Dismantle the system and advocate. And those are great things. Those are needed things. But then as organizations, this isn't an individual issue. This is an organizational issue. We say all those things. We want all those things. We kind of move through the challenge of figuring out how to incorporate that advisement and that lived expertise. And then especially for youth, there reaches a point where we're not a youth anymore, according to the system. They're not a young person anymore. And all of a sudden, we kind of shift as organizations what we want from them, right? Be cooperative. Don't be critical. Help us build. Get on board. And so we kind of have this very dichotomous approach in the sector to what we as organizations and what the system tells folks who want to use their lived expertise and want to use their leadership and their advocacy to support designing and building the systems that we need. This dichotomous piece around, be a detractor, dismantle, be vocal, challenge to that's challenging to work with now. So we're going to step out of working in that space and with that individual. And I think we do more harm there than we realize. And so one of the things that I think we can do as organizations is pivot on this piece and say, what we're really going to try to do is build transferable skills for folks to be able to use their expertise and their leadership throughout their lifetime in this sector and beyond. And so really supporting amplification and impactful use of lived expertise or leadership across the sector or across the system, I think is really around reciprocity and mutual understanding of how decisions are made.
I'm a huge fan of Shauna's, and I think that's some really powerful reflections and challenge from Shauna's perspective. I'm going to throw now to our panelists who are joining us live today. So first of all, we have Fionn Angus and Jonathan Angus. They're a father-son team in Ireland, and they're the team behind Fionathan Productions. And I'll also introduce Charlie McMillan, who's joined by Cameron Smith, and they're both in Scotland, and they're both with the Scottish Commission for People with Learning Disabilities. So I'm going to move both of them to spotlight now, and I'm going to invite Jonathan and Fionn to tell us a little about themselves. and also to reflect on our first question for them, which is thinking about your journey so far, telling us about a time when both of you really felt like a leader, when you felt pride and engagement and motivation, and what helped you to get to and contributed to that experience. And Fiona and Jonathan are a great example of collective leadership. So I look forward to hearing both of your perspectives. So first off, tell us who you are and then tell us about your leadership journey so far.
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Fiona Crombie Angus, and this is my lovely father beside me.
And my name is Jonathan. And when you take Fionn and Jonathan and put them together, you get Fionathan. And we are a father and son team.
A son and father team.
A son and father team changing the world.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us here. And you might think that I'm a little long in the tooth to be an emerging leader, but then it was made clear to us, and I think it's really exciting that you can emerge at any age. And actually the example that I wanted to give of a time that I felt a leader is about a new emerging for me. But before we go there, why don't you tell people a little bit about Fionathan Productions?
Sorry to interrupt. Fiona and Jonathan, can I just ask you to speak up just a touch? It's coming through a little bit quiet.
Yeah. Okay, so nice and loud.
Well, so we are a social enterprise. We work with the arts, media, and education.
That's right. And we started about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
When you were finishing secondary school.
Yes.
And we looked at the options for people with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
The sort of the standard options. There was an expectation that you would, completing school, sign up for the government sponsored disability services.
Yeah.
Right. So a day service program, which I know some people on the call are also familiar with its alternate title of day wasting programs. And we did our research, but we came to that conclusion that Ireland has some wonderful documents about all the great ways that people should have choice and control in their lives and should be kind of sharing their gifts with the world. But in actual practice, we didn't feel like it was quite measuring up.
Yeah.
And so we asked to be, for you to have your own budget.
Yes,
and
we did.
We had some wonderful mentors.
Yeah.
People with physical disabilities.
Yes.
Who had negotiated their own budgets. But you were the first person with an intellectual disability.
Yes.
To achieve that here in Ireland.
Yes.
And we started the pilot project, and the Department of Health said,
yeah,
if we're going to give you money, Fionn, you'll have to set up a company so we can treat it as a service provider for one.
Yes.
And so I had already suggested that if you had your own budget and you were going to hire someone to be your supporter, you might consider hiring me.
Yes, and I did that.
You did indeed.
Because I love you, my dad.
Oh, thank you. And also, I think because I gave you a really good offer where I said, you can pay me the 10 hours a week and I'll work 40 or 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that we were going to try to see what's possible.
Yeah.
And setting up the company around your interests.
Yes.
And around you achieving a great life.
Yes.
And what are the 3 goals of the company?
Well, the first goal is to help me have a great life.
Yeah, that's the first goal of the company. What's the second goal?
Well, the second goal is to share our story with other communities.
Yeah, we want to help other people have
Yeah.
a great life
Yes.
and maybe share some of our few successes and our many mistakes,
Yeah.
so that it might make the journey easier for others
Yeah.
or more interesting, I suppose. And the third goal of the company,
Is to change and heal the world.
to change and heal the world. I love
Yes.
that. We're
Yeah.
changing it as we go.
Yes, we are.
And yes, so let's jump into the question.
All right.
And that is, tell about a time when you really felt that you were being a leader.
Uh, the, 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 yes, the time I felt like a leader was when we were masters of ceremony, um, uh, bringing to starting these cultural cafes.
The very title, Master of Ceremonies,
Yeah.
sounds like a leadership act,
does.
doesn't it? And you said we were masters of ceremony for cultural cafes.
Yes.
So why don't you explain what that is?
Well, so these cultural cafes, well, they are worldwide. The, they are countries from all over the world, and we happen to have people from all over the world living in Duisca, just up the road from us here in Galway.
Yes, you make it sound like a big global movement, but it's really just a small neighborhood thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a small neighborhood thing.
And
actually.
we should have mentioned that Duisca is a neighborhood in Galway. That's where we live.
Yes,
but it's
I
not.
just said that we live in
Yeah.
Galway.
But it's not where you grew up. You grew
That's
up in a
true.
small town in County Clare,
Yes.
Ireland, and
Yeah.
you wanted, after finishing secondary school and after getting your own budget to run
Yeah.
your own support, you said, "Well, I want to live in the big city."
I did, yes.
So we moved to Galway,
Yes,
and you got your own apartment.
I did.
Yours is the only name on the lease,
That's
but
right.
but I'm here with you.
Of course you are.
And we, just by happenstance, found ourselves in the neighborhood that has a higher percentage of residents who've come from other countries than any other place in Ireland. So nearly 50% of the people that live in Duisca
Yeah.
weren't born in Ireland. And I'm amongst them. You might have been thinking about the accent, but I moved from America a couple of decades back.
Yes, congratulations,
Oh,
Dad.
thank you, Fionn. Yeah. So Fionn had moved in, and we realized after so many months there that we were seeing all these amazing and interesting people and wondering about their lives. And
Yeah.
I don't know, just because we're a bit shy or because of community life being
Yeah.
the way it is, we recognized that we weren't meeting our neighbors.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
really the idea of cultural cafes
Yeah.
was to solve a problem for ourselves,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the important lessons, is that you deal with your own stuff first.
Yes.
And so we wanted to meet our neighbors.
Yeah.
And so what did we do? We talked to the Community Resource Center,
We did.
and we approached them with an idea that we could do these cultural cafes,
Yeah.
inviting people from different countries
Yeah.
who have moved to Ireland
Yes.
to tell about their country of origin
Yeah.
through art.
Yes.
So
Through art.
what kind of
Yeah.
things?
Well, like telling stories about where they came, about where they came from.
Stories through music, stories
Yeah.
through costume,
Yes.
and stories through food.
Yes, through food as well.
That was one of the best parts, is each evening we'd have, because there were 3 cultures
Yes.
each time.
Yeah.
They always brought food to share. So we had a wonderful meal at the end, and it really
Yeah.
felt like a family gathering.
It did.
Because
Yeah.
I think people invited each other to treat one another like family,
Yes.
which was amazing, because you see these people that feel so different from you, and to be able to feel as if you're one family was really powerful.
Yeah.
And so here's the key thing. What did we learn? We went there to try to meet our neighbors.
Yes.
And were we successful?
Well, yes, we were successful in getting to know our neighbors, but also our neighbors got to meet their neighbors too.
Yeah, that was a really profound thing that we only figured out at the end. Like, oh, that was really the goal, right? Yeah.
Thank you both for those great reflections, and what a great message to start us with after Shauna's introduction around that idea of solving a problem for ourselves. That's one way of leadership, and drawing that beautiful connection with the power of creative practice that really takes us back to the start of our meeting and Sven's contribution. So let's jump across the water to Cameron and Charlie in Scotland. Hi.
Hi there.
So welcome both. Thank you so much. So Charlie McMillan is the Chief Executive of the Scottish Commission for People with Learning Disabilities, and Cameron Smith works there as well. Cameron, I'm sorry, I don't know your job title, but please, when I throw to you in a second, please make sure that you add that to your introduction. So I'd love you both to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your experience, particularly with IIDL and the exchanges, and then go into really talking about how you and the Scottish Commission build, nurture and develop emerging leaders, because you've got a really innovative approach over there.
Great, thanks Aisling. How long do you want me to speak for? Can I just double check before I start?
Can we try and capture it in about 5 minutes? Because part of the great thing about this is then we go into workshops and get to talk more. And I have put you and Cameron in different workshops.
That's absolutely fine. I just wanted to double check. Thanks everybody. I wanted to start my comments by a bit of personal reflection, building on what Fiona and Jonathan were saying about start with yourself first. My journey to leadership came about through coming out as a gay man in 1982. And at that point, being a leader was not welcomed. It wasn't wanted. It put you at huge risk. And it's only through the last 4 decades of working as a leader, being supported, being mentored, that I've come to understand how important the gift of leadership is for everyone else, as well as yourself. And using your own learning is really, really important in terms of then trying to create the platforms for people in terms of leadership. That was really brought home to me recently as well, in terms of discussions about, well, how did SCLD, which is what we call the Scottish Commission here, SCLD start on its leadership journey. I was lucky enough to go to Washington for an IIDL workshop 3 years ago nearly, and we focused on leadership and emerging leaders and people with lived and living experience. Jonathan, I absolutely love that term and I'll be borrowing that one. But lived and living experience, and how do we bring about change? Because what I suddenly realized was, after 39 years in terms of the LGBT community and leadership, when I looked in Scotland, I didn't see leaders who were people with learning disabilities. I didn't see the opportunities for people. So coming back from Washington, I worked with Inspiring Scotland, our partner organisation, and got advice from Cameron and a whole range of trusted advisors that SCLD work with. And we've developed a programme called Our Future Leaders, which is a leadership development programme. Alexander's one of our graduates. Alexander's here with us as well. And when you're in the workshop with Alexander, get him to tell you about his journey as well, because it's absolutely fascinating. We wanted to invest in people with learning disabilities simply because, for no other reason, that it was the right thing to do to try and help people elevate their experience and make sure that they were finding the opportunities to take forward change. We've also, as well as our future leaders, gone on to set up Include for Good, and we're going to send Aisling some links to websites and microsites to give you information. You find it's all in easy read as well. But our future leaders is Include for Good is really important for us because we've recruited 10 rapporteurs based on the United Nations model, but 10 rapporteurs, people with lived and living experience, and they're being paid by the organisation to undertake investigations, to speak to leaders throughout the country and say what has to change. So linking back to Shuna's approach. So organisationally, we are absolutely committed to leadership opportunities, and that's because I benefited from them individually, and I know the value that they bring to everyone who engages with them. So we'll keep going with that. But also, we've then got individuals who work with us, and it's really important to explore what opportunities are available. And Cameron, I don't know if you want to say anything in terms of your leadership journey and what's helped and hindered.
Yeah, so I'll quickly mention this, but obviously when we're in the different workshops, well, I can mention it more, and if people get questions from me, then they can come in and watch me at that point. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left. So for me, so I think you're right, I do work at SLD, my job role is development worker. So I'm more of a kind of development person in SLD. So as soon as I see something that I think might be useful for the organisation, I come and approach Charlie and just hope to get off the ground a little bit. For me, my leadership journey came from an internship that I did back in 2013 called Project Search. It's big in the States and it's big in the UK, but that's where the places that have gone so far, so they're trying to expand it out. But my leadership more came from the couple of jobs I've had at SLD, because I started at the bottom. So I started as a receptionist, all the way up to events information system. Now I'm here, but also I think my leadership is more getting involved in IIDL. So for IIDL in Scotland, I kind of organise events. I chaired a couple of workshops last year with IIDL in Scotland, and one of them was working in partnership with Microsoft and Sodexo for their Global Support Employment Programme. So that's where my kind of development leadership has come in as well.
And we're looking for opportunities to further develop that.
Yeah.
And that comes out of experience as well, and it builds and grows. And we'll feed all of this work back into IIDL because it's been such a rich place for us to learn. And one of the things we were thinking as well, Aisling, in terms of the approach IIDL is taking is we need to work at easy read. You're talking about translating it into other languages. We use another language every day, and that is easy read. It's a completely different conceptual and communication system. So we need to mirror everything that we talk about in the best practice possible and create those spaces. So that development is ongoing all the time.
Yes.
So that's probably enough of an introduction, but everything on our website, absolutely free. Help yourself, get in touch. Yep. We're always happy to talk.
Thank you both. And yes, you're absolutely right. Easy read is a very easy win for us that can improve accessibility. So I'm conscious I'd really like to move us into our breakout rooms to continue these conversations. I do want to offer Fionn and Jonathan just a chance to let us know, when you picture a positive future for you and your leadership, what's going to help you get a really, really great future as leaders? And if I can ask for sort of the 30-second summary.
So where will we start?
What comes to mind immediately as what would help us to be able to lead?
Well, definitely to learn more from leaders such as John, such as John O'Brien and John McKnight and
so many others. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's it. Like there's so many people who have done such amazing work. And the Emerging Leaders program is really important because it doesn't put like one on the pedestal and the other at the feet, but it's about learning, exchanging of learning.
Yes, and also learning from Michael Kendrick too.
For example, yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. So that mutual learning exchange. Cameron and Charlie, the final question, if you could pick just one thing that SCLD do really well, what do you wish that every other organisation would start doing?
Approach everything with an open mind. Ask plenty. Shuna summed it up really well. Ask plenty of questions. When we started Include for Good, Linda, who's working with me on it, and I went with a plan in our mind. And Sven, when you were saying about co-production, we then had our first meeting and ripped up the plan and started again, because just keep asking the questions. What is it that's important to you? That I think brings it back all the time.
Fantastic. Well, thank you to all of our panelists. A big round of applause from all of us. I'm going to remove the spotlights and put us back to a gallery view. So big round of applause. Thank you to all of you. So team, we're going to move into our breakout sessions now. And the first point that I'm asking everybody to reflect on in your group sessions is really, what are your top 3 insights from our 3 groups of speakers? So we had Shauna from Canada, Fionn and Jonathan in Ireland, and Cameron and Charlie in Scotland, all reflecting in different ways on what works and what makes a positive difference for leadership. So as a group, we'd love you to introduce yourselves to each other and then start to talk about what are your top 3 takeaways. We've got 20 minutes to do that, and then we'll take a 5-minute break for our comfort. I'll be around if you need. But look forward to hearing about your discussions. I've got Eddie and Sean both helping to take notes from the others from each of the breakout sessions. So I'll send you off to the rooms and have a great time together. Hello. So welcome everyone. Oh, Cameron and Charlie, you're in the same room. That's why I had split you up.
Yeah, we're using the one laptop for our helping system today. So
we're learning how to work in this hybrid world, so bear with us.
No worries at all. So I've talked a lot, so I'd love to hand the mic over to, I think we've got a few friends, a few Scottish friends in this room. So welcome Alex and Andy and Jerry over in Ireland, Friedrich, and I can't see the name. Jeanette, yeah. So can I just invite anyone who hasn't spoken yet to just introduce yourself and say hi. Jerry, you're on mute.
Unmuted, Aisling. Hi, Aisling. How are you? So hello, everybody. Jerry Tully in Ireland. I work in disability services.
Hi, I'm the one. I work for myself, AJP Dreams.
Hi, I'm Andy Miller. I'll just jump in next. I work with Cameron and Charlie at SCLD. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you before. I'm the Partnerships and Participation Lead for SCLD.
Fantastic. And Jeanette, are you with us?
Yes, I am. My name is Jeanette. I'm a professor in psychiatric care and I work at the addiction clinic in Sweden.
Fantastic. Great to have you with us. So I'm really curious. I'm really just here as a note taker and facilitator, but coming back to that question, what are the top 3 things that came out of the presentation for you? And anyone can hop when they're hot.
So given that I'm from Ireland and involved, Aisling, I might say a few words. So delighted to hear Fionn and Jonathan's story. It's really good. And we have a program of personalised budgets underway now for significant number of people around the country. And we have an organisation called Unedited as well that's working on delivering supports to people who want personalised budgets and individualised arrangements. So that's really good. It's not the case for the thousands and thousands of other people who are provided services through traditional organisations. And, you know, we have very good policy on day services and meaningful day. And some of that, or a lot of that, is delivered well through providers. I would hope that, you know, people wouldn't have wasted days, but that's not to say there aren't some people who would have wasted days. So it's great to see that. Really good example, good exemplar. I hadn't heard about it before, so that's interesting from the point of view of how we share examples and leadership and examples at the minute and stuff. So I would hope.
Apologise for that, but I am recording it so it won't get lost, and I do invite anyone to shoot me an email with dot points or thoughts, whatever way you'd like to do it. But Caroline, you're the reporter back from room 1. What were your sort of top 3 things that you talked about? And you're on mute, sorry, Dom.
We all agreed that kindness was the umbrella, if you like, for everything, because you could forgive if it was said with kindness, even if it wasn't quite right. But I mean, like we've all today, because we're all from different places, and we felt that connection was very important in developing a leadership and a leader. If they got connected with everybody first and listened to everybody, you could help them lead. And we felt that there should be a key. I don't know if I'm saying 3 now, because I'm just saying what came out. There should be a key somewhere in the write-up that said what co-design meant, just a sentence, what co-production meant, and things like that. And different, everyone brings something different to the table, and people should be paid monetary for their value, not their academic qualifications. I mean, professors couldn't co-produce if people with lived experience weren't part of the mix, if you know what I mean. So people should be paid on the value to the thing.
Brilliant, Carolyn.
That's it.
Thank you.
I don't know, did I miss things?
Anyone want to add anything from group 1?
Yeah.
Well, that was a brilliant summary, Caroline. Group 2, do you have someone? Annika, go ahead. Or
I actually just had a question. Sorry to jump in, but I'm wondering, all the different blocks, is it possible for there to be a continuum through them all? Because I'm thinking that based on different ages, I mean, one might be a leader in one arena, but one might be an emerging leader in another arena. I have a corporate background, for example, and moving into, but I've also worked in the nonprofit sector for 12 years. But then, you know, working in the mental health sector. I mean, so I feel like that we can, you know, use the 2-hand syndrome, or the not syndrome, but the 2-hand thing, you know, lift and climb at the same time, that you provide space for someone else, that it's not just a siloed.
Yeah,
it was something that struck me. I don't know if it's
It's a really helpful piece of feedback. Thank you, Annika. I really appreciate it. Charlotte, are you reporting back for the room 2?
I believe I am. I have been nominated against my will. No, I'm very happy to do it. Not at all. But first of all, our caveat from our group is that we perhaps didn't do our homework, and a number of us hadn't seen the supporting documentation. So possibly lots of our questions are answered by that additional document. So we had a conversation that sort of went around some question about the clarity of purpose in terms of what's the intended purpose of the whole piece of work, and therefore kind of, you know, just making sense of some things that are fairly broad in that context and how they might be interpreted. We talked about how helpful the recognition of all forms of leadership is, so long as we are in fact clear, or people are clear about how those or many forms of leadership can show up, many of which happen in the briefest of moments or in the most informal of settings. And it's almost like one needs to have consciousness raising around what those might be in order to have a radar on to catch them, support them, be able to create spaces for those things to thrive, or the wisp of an invitation that you need to pick up on in order for something wonderful to happen, and people to step into that. We talked about the need for courageous kinds of leaders, and just maybe some more exploration around what those characteristics are of courageous leaders, in order to get really clear about what we mean when we talk about kindness and authenticity and courage in this context, so that people can really identify with those things, or really identify for themselves the things that's part of them, the knowing of oneself or self-development. That's kind of how you hold yourself to some kind of parameters around that in order to be able to come up with a plan. Whether that's through mentorship or whichever way you look at it. We also talked about the kind of levels at which people are operating, some of which is about that kind of, you know, sense of empowerment where people are emerging perhaps in the context of leading themselves through a process of recovery, or empowered to kind of manage their own process or healing, and the difference between that and stepping into some of the leadership that might be much more about supporting and leading peers or organizations, and just kind of an acknowledgement of that nuance. Yeah, some more similarly as the other group, we talked about the sort of clarity around some of the terms and use of language, and we talked about the creating of spaces that feel safe for people in a variety of ways, and just the explicit nature of that endeavor, and the intention that people need to bring to that in order for things to be successful. So that was a meandering conversation. We hope that's useful.
That's so useful. Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you to both the breakout rooms. I would say broadly what we discussed in the main room has been covered by your feedback, but Cameron and Charlie, since there's 2 of you in one room, I'm going to throw to you. Is there anything that we talked about that you want to highlight in particular, or that you think hasn't been covered?
If I kick on, payment was absolutely a big and controversial discussion, but a point well made, and one that we really are exploring in Scotland, because it's about equality. There was a point, I think, a really rich discussion about storytelling as well, and that there's almost a parallel piece as leadership and storytelling, and we're doing a lot of thinking and discovery about that as well. So that was a great discussion. Being courageous, Caroline, that was absolutely central as well to our discussion. For me, the cultural competence element. Tamara Good, who introduced me to so many of the ideas about leadership in Washington, would be asking, well, where's the cultural competence? Where's the diversity? Fiona and Jonathan, you spoke about the diversity in your area, and how do we engage in those diverse voices as well?
That was all, I think. Sorry, Cameron. No, I think that was all. Just quickly going back to storytelling as well, and around what Alex had said out here as well, is around listening carefully to people's stories as well, and knowing how long to speak for as well. I think was a really good point, Echo, but I think you covered Charlie.
Thank you both very much, and thank you to everyone for your time and your brain power and for your careful listening to our panel and to each other. Michael, I have nominated you very early in your morning to give us your final thoughts as a bit of a discussant at the end. So are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us based on what you've heard, or anything you'd like to draw out?
Well, I think the discussion was really important around collective leadership, because leadership is coming from many people in many different ways, and yet we need some sort of rules of the road in a way to some principles to guide us in the hazards of being in a form of collective leadership. And I think I was quite struck by just the term kindness. That certainly would be very helpful. If we could stay kind to each other, that would be very good. So I think it's trying to get to those values, kindness being one of them, that would make it more possible for people that are providing leadership to appreciate each other, so that we can work collectively. If not, we're into a kind of leadership where it's my way or the highway, so to speak, rather than some kind of leadership model that allows a lot of space for people that aren't like me and aren't thinking like me. And so I think we need some values around the forbearance, I think, that's needed to work as a team, as a collective, particularly in a complicated collective like this that's spread across so many countries. And the good news is that people can do that. We can do that. And IIDL, IIMHL has been doing that. So it's not beyond our grasp to do that. We've got this far, actually. So I think it's more a matter of gradually developing those values so that they're shared and clear, and that we create then the space for each other to feel like, well, their voice is being heard and their contributions being appreciated. And that makes it possible then to have many contributions rather than the contributions of a few. And we need that, otherwise we'll get in each other's way.
Wow, what a fantastic thought to leave us with, Michael. Thank you. What a great way for some of us to finish our day and for some of us to start our day. So thank you so much for wrapping us up with such a fully formed thought. So this brings us to the end of our time together. And again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for taking nearly 2 hours out of your day. I know all of your time is precious, and I really appreciate it on behalf of IIDL, IIMHL. Just a quick summary of the next steps. So I will now take all of your contributions. So please do shoot me emails. Dot points is fine. There's a couple of other links that I'll send out after this meeting. And we'll write up the first complete draft that's made its way all the way around the world. So well done. You are the people who have had the final synthesis, and I'm so pleased to be here with you and sharing this with you. We always try and learn from our events. So when you finish up the Zoom meeting, you'll see a survey come up. If there is any feedback, positive or constructive ways that we can improve, please do leave it. I really try and make these events better and better each time. So really appreciate you taking an extra 5 minutes to do that. Are there any final thoughts that anyone in the room would like to share with us? Otherwise, I'll close.
Thanks, Aisling. Just one comment around the remuneration or the paying of people. We had a lot of challenges with that here in Ireland, and I think again it's just around the use of language is important in this. You know, it's about how we value people, because even when we pay them doesn't mean that we value them. So it's just that I'd like to highlight that.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's the demonstration of respect and value. And that's not just, it's not just transactional money transaction. Thank you. Okay, any other final thoughts? It'll be a 3, 2, 1. All right, well, thank you. And I hope you go safely and go well and have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.
Okay.